Developing right now on Morning News Now, a defining moment for Donald Trump and the American presidency. This morning, the Supreme Court set to hear arguments over the former president's claims of immunity as court resumes in Trump's historic criminal hush money trial. Also, two of Trump's closest allies indicted for their alleged roles in trying to overturn the 2020 election. We have team coverage. Plus, on-campus chaos, tense confrontations between police and protesters at pro-Palestine demonstrations on college campuses from coast to coast. More on the protests and the arrests. Also, protecting the expecting. Federal officials now out with new rules for the workplace meant to help pregnant employees. We'll break down the guidelines. And the show must go on. You may know him from TV, but actor Jesse Tyler Ferguson says his love for acting started on stage.
I grew up a very shy, lonely kid, and I found my people in theater. I did, I know.
How he's working with lawmakers to save community theaters across the country. I'm not sure I believe that either.
I know, I don't either, but he won a Tony a couple years ago, so clearly that theater experience paid off. Good morning, good to have you with us. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers. Thanks for joining us on Thursday morning. We're going to get started this morning with the multiple legal battles facing former President Donald Trump, which are continuing to pile up ahead of this year's general election.
Mr. Trump was up early this morning, meeting with supporters in New York ahead of his return to the courtroom as his hush money criminal trial continues. Well, that's happening about 225 miles to the south. The Supreme Court of the United States will hear arguments about Mr. Trump's bid for presidential immunity from prosecution over alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 election. That all centers on another criminal case, the one known as the federal election interference case. And on top of all of that, Mr. Trump could also face more potential legal jeopardy. That's after an Arizona grand jury indicted 18 people for their alleged role in trying to overturn the 2020 election result in that state. 11 Republican officials are named for their part in the so-called fake electors scheme. That's when they submitted a document to Congress falsely declaring that Donald Trump had won the state of Arizona in 2020. Now, Mr. Trump was not charged in that case, but he was named as an unindicted co-conspirator. Arizona's Attorney General vowed to prove the crimes were committed beyond a reasonable doubt.
I will not allow American democracy to be undermined. The plot to violate the law must be answered for, and I was elected to uphold the law of this state. The scheme, had it succeeded, would have deprived Arizona's voters of their right to have their votes counted for their chosen president.
We've got team coverage from New York to Washington as we cover all of the legal cases involving the former president today. We kick things off this hour with NBC's Katie Fang, who's outside the Supreme Court in Washington, and our legal analyst Angela Senadella here in studio. Good morning to both of you. Katie, let's start with you and that Supreme Court hearing about Mr. Trump's claim of presidential immunity. Set the scene for us. What's expected today, and do we have any idea how quickly we could get a decision?
Well, that is the magic question, Joe. The last one, when can we expect a decision? But in order to get across that finish line, we have to have the oral arguments occur first. That is going to take place this morning. And you know what's interesting, Savannah and Joe, is normally a case makes it to the Supreme Court once there's been a conviction, once there's been a verdict, once there's been a decision. But in this instance, as you all know, this is as a result of the D.C. federal election interference case that was brought by special counsel Jack Smith. Judge Tanya Chunkin, a federal judge, deciding that Donald Trump does not have presidential criminal immunity. As a result, before we can even get anything going in terms of a trial, though, the Supreme Court taking up the decision of whether or not Trump does have this alleged criminal immunity for acts that were committed in the scope of his office during his presidency. And that's the key language, guys, that we want to focus on, whether or not these were acts that were committed during the scope of his presidency that would give him immunity. But the one thing that I'm going to be looking out for today that I think a lot of people are, is whether or not the Supreme Court says, you know what, we're not going to make a blanket decision. He either does have it or he doesn't have it in terms of immunity. Will this Supreme Court say we want the trial court judge to make a decision on an act-by-act basis as to whether or not a certain act has immunity or another one does not? And so once these oral arguments have concluded, we may get a decision as late as June, which obviously may have an impact on all of the pending criminal prosecutions of Donald Trump.
Angela, let's bring you in here. I want to ask you what Katie was just touching on there. Is there a chance that this just sort of gets sent from the Supreme Court back to a lower court? It's kind of a processy question, but then also walk us through the legal basis here for Mr. Trump's immunity claim.
Yes, first, absolutely, there's a chance that it gets kicked back to the lower court. So that's really only a decision the Supreme Court can make today about how far they want to make this decision. Now, in terms of Trump's basis, so he's saying everything that he did, that he's being accused of in this D.C. case, was within the scope of his official acts of his presidency. Now, the second part of that, though, is he's claiming that any of those official acts of a president should be totally immune from criminal prosecution. His argument is that presidents have to make huge decisions every single day, split-second ones of massive importance. And if they have to be worried every single time that the next incoming presidency, that their political Department of Justice could then prosecute them for their decisions, that would just cause problems for their ability to make the decisions in the best interests of the country.
Katie, let's turn to this new case out of Arizona, the thing we weren't really expecting this morning. Walk us through this indictment. Who are some of the big names, and there are some big names mentioned here. What are they being charged with?
Yeah, so, Joe, there are 18 co-defendants that have now been indicted by a state grand jury in the state of Arizona for their roles in their own efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election results. There was a fake elector scheme that we've all heard about. It's been mentioned not only in Georgia and Fulton County, but as well as in Michigan and in Nevada. Those are the other states that are prosecuting individuals that were working as a, quote, fake slate of electors in order to ensure that Donald Trump remained president of the United States and not the lawfully elected Joe Biden. I want to read to you just very quickly some language from the indictment so you get a flavor of what this case is about. They say that these individuals prevented the lawful transfer of the presidency, keeping President Trump in office against the will of Arizona voters. That is the crux of the allegations. But if you look at the front page, Joe, of that indictment, there are some blacked out names, and those redacted names are actually Jenna Ellis and Rudy Giuliani and former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows. If those names are familiar, they're also being prosecuted in Fulton County. And so these allegations are being now sought against these individuals. And according to the Arizona GOP, they are claiming that it's, quote, political in nature, and they vow to fight back on behalf of these Republicans. But we'll have to see how the judicial process plays out for all of these defendants.
Angela, we start throwing around a lot of words when we're talking about all these different cases that a lot of people aren't really used to hearing. So just tell us, legally speaking, what does unindicted co-conspirator mean, which is what Mr. Trump is named as in this one?
So, frankly, it doesn't mean all that much yet. Like, if he didn't have all these other real criminal charges against him, I would say this could be a cause of concern. The real issue is that at any time he could be charged. There could be an indictment. If you're a co-conspirator, that means that they are looking into you, they're investigating you. But you're either charged or you're not. So at this point, he's not facing charges here, whereas he is across the rest of the country.
All right. Katie and Angela, thank you both. Appreciate it.
Meanwhile, on another legal front for the former president here in New York, court will be back in session this morning for his hush money trial.
We could get a decision from the judge as soon as today on the gag order issue. Does he think the former president violated that order, which bars him from attacking jurors and witnesses? If so, what's the punishment?
As Kim says, David Pecker is expected to take the stand again today in court. He's the former National Enquirer publisher, and he testified earlier this week describing the so-called catch and kill tactics used to take down negative stories about Mr. Trump. NBC News correspondent Rahima Ellis joins us now from outside the courthouse in Lower Manhattan with a preview. Good morning. So let's get started with this anticipated gag order decision. Both sides made their cases on Tuesday to Judge Juan Merchan. Former President Trump has continued, though, to discuss the trial on Truth Social, even as that's unfolding. Bring us up to speed on the arguments that were made and what punishment could look like here.
Well, the prosecution is alleging that Donald Trump has made several violations of the gag order. As you point out, it prohibits him from attacking witnesses or jurors or court officers or family members of the court. And they say that he has violated this in his speech as well as in his tweets and retweets. And one of the more explosive moments of talking about him reposting a tweet came up on Tuesday, just before trial began, and that is the jurors were not in the courtroom for this. And the judge asked Donald Trump's attorney whether or not it was an exact retweet. Come to find out that it was not, that Donald Trump added some words. And at that point, the judge said, so he is manipulating these tweets. The defense attorney said he objected to the word manipulating. At that point, the judge said, I have to tell you, you are losing credibility with this court. He repeated, you are losing credibility with this court. Not something that any attorney wants to hear. If the judge makes a decision that he finds Donald Trump has violated the gag order, the prosecution is asking that he be fined $1,000 per violation. So far, it's 10, perhaps 11 alleged violations, so that could be anywhere from $10,000 to $11,000. That's what the prosecution would like to see happen. They have not called, we should point out, for any kind of incarceration of the former president. They just want him to stop making what they say are attacking remarks about people. Guys.
So, Rahima, David Pecker is still on the witness stand when court is back today, day number 3 on the stand for him. Jurors already got a firsthand account of the personal relationship he says he's had with Trump over the years. Recap highlights of his testimony so far and then what we can expect today.
Well, he pointed out how they are very good friends and that they have known each other since the 1980s. And he was also someone, I think, who's very important, as we've had our legal scholars who've been pointing out this, in terms of setting up the kind of relationship that Trump had and also the kind of businessman he was. David Pecker said that Donald Trump was essentially someone who was micromanaging, that he was aware of every single aspect of his business. And that's going to be extremely important going forward. In addition, we might get through direct examination from David Pecker today, then it would be cross. And our folks who are inside the courthouse tell me that the next witness who might come up might be Stormy Daniels.
All right, Rahima, thank you so much.
In the Middle East, Hamas released an undated video showing American-Israeli hostage Hersh Goldberg Poland alive. It is the first time we've seen him since his abduction more than 6 months ago. NBC News International correspondent Raf Sanchez has the latest.
Shalom.
This undated Hamas video giving a first glimpse of American-Israeli hostage Hersh Goldberg Poland in captivity. The fact he survived October 7th is almost miraculous. This video shows him being kidnapped from the Supernova Music Festival, his left arm badly damaged by a grenade. Video shows the 23-year-old's hand is gone, but he appears otherwise uninjured. He's one of 5 Americans believed to be alive in Hamas captivity. Mom, Dad, Libby, and Orly, I love you so much and miss you so much, and I think of you every day that I'm here, he says. His parents, Rachel and John, calling on Israel and Hamas to reach a ceasefire agreement.
We're relieved to see him alive, but we are also concerned about his health and well-being.
We heard your voice today for the first time in 201 days, and if you can hear us, I am telling you, we are telling you, we love you, stay strong, survive.
In the Oval Office, President Biden also meeting for the first time with a freed U.S. hostage. 4-year-old Abigail Edan, the youngest American kidnapped by Hamas, was released last year. But Israel says 133 hostages are still in Gaza, at least 36 of them confirmed dead. And Hersh Goldberg Poland's parents have been passionate advocates for their release.
What do you feel?
Speaking to Lester several times since October 7th.
How do you walk through a nightmare that you cannot wake up from ever?
A family in agony, but not despair.
One line that we say every single day in our house, and someone gave it to us in a sticker because we say it so much: hope is mandatory.
Raf Sanchez, NBC News, Tel Aviv.
Well, President Biden renewed the United States' commitment to Israel by signing a long-awaited foreign aid package into law on Wednesday. The $95 billion bill, passed with bipartisan support, will fund aid to Ukraine, Taiwan, and Israel, while also providing relief to Gaza. Included in that package is also a controversial ban on the social media platform TikTok. NBC News Chief White House correspondent Peter Alexander has more.
With Ukraine struggling to fend off Russia's relentless military assault, new American weapons are finally on the way after President Biden signed that nearly $100 billion foreign aid package.
It's a good day for world peace. It's going to make America safer. It's going to make the world safer.
The announcement comes after a 6-month-long White House effort to approve more aid. The delay caused by conservative Republicans who threatened to oust House Speaker Mike Johnson if he supported it. Multiple officials tell NBC News the president broke the logjam by directing aides to court Johnson, privately making clear to him the consequences of inaction. Still, the delay, officials here acknowledge, has put Ukraine at a disadvantage. The final package that the Senate passed easily includes $60 billion for Ukraine, $8 billion to support allies like Taiwan, and more than $26 billion for Israel, some of it for humanitarian aid for Palestinians facing famine.
Israel must make sure all this aid reaches the Palestinians in Gaza without delay.
The president's signature also triggers a countdown clock for TikTok, giving its Chinese parent company 9 months to sell the social media platform or face a ban in the U.S. TikTok is already vowing legal challenges.
We are confident and we will keep fighting for your rights in the courts. The facts and the Constitution are on our side.
Even though the president today signed that bill declaring TikTok a national security threat, his campaign says it plans to keep using the app at least through the election before any possible ban could take effect. Back to you.
All right, Peter Alexander, thank you.
Now to those tense protests over the war in Israel growing larger this morning, leading to clashes with school officials, even law enforcement on several college campuses across the country. Earlier this morning in Boston, there was a large police presence at a protest near Emerson College. The scene in these images shared by Working Mass. That's the labor outlet of the Democratic Socialists of America in Massachusetts.
The Los Angeles Police Department is continuing to patrol the University of Southern California today after 93 people were arrested during protests there. And tensions continue to escalate at New York's Columbia University between the administration and pro-Palestinian protesters. House Speaker Mike Johnson made a visit to the school yesterday.
That's where we find NBC News senior national correspondent Stephanie Goss this morning. Stephanie, good morning. So Columbia said student protesters had agreed to take down, quote, a significant number of tents. What's the latest there this morning? I also know you've been speaking with students there. What are you hearing?
Yeah, you know, Joe, they did take down some tents and they agreed to stop harassment and they were given another 48 hours, but that deadline runs out tonight at midnight. And the students who I spoke with said they aren't going anywhere. Meanwhile, as you note, tension is spreading and growing on campuses across the country. It has led to some very dramatic confrontations with police and dozens of arrests.
House Speaker Mike Johnson and other Republican lawmakers visited Columbia University's campus yesterday, and he met with the school's president and also Jewish students. What came out of those meetings, and where do things go from here?
Well, one of the things that they told us, the Jewish students who they met with, Savannah, is that they're scared. They recounted incidents of assaults that they've experienced, epithets that have been shouted at them, and that dovetails with things that I have heard from students really leading back to October on this campus. But it doesn't tell the entire story, because we also spoke with a faculty member, a Jewish faculty member here, who said that she actually had her Seder dinner, her Passover dinner, in the encampment, and that what's going on in that encampment is peaceful protest against the Israeli state, and that they should be supported, and that their freedom of speech should be supported by the president here. Now, those calls for the ouster of President Manoush Shafik, well, the Board of Trustees here has come out in support of her, saying she is doing that ever-important thing, striking the balance between freedom of speech and also protecting students on campus from harassment and intimidation.
All right, Stephanie, thank you so much.
Well, on their third attempt, members of the Arizona House of Representatives passed legislation to repeal the 1864 abortion ban that was upheld by the state Supreme Court earlier this month. Under the state's Civil War-era ban, it's set to go into effect as early as June 8th. Performing or receiving an abortion is a felony and carries a sentence of 2 to 5 years in prison.
The measure passed after 3 state House Republicans joined Democrats in voting for the measure. Now it goes to the state Senate, which is expected to vote in favor of the repeal as early as next week. Time for your morning news now weather forecast. Some pretty intense storms will impact the middle of the country the next few days.
Angie Lastman is here with the details. Hi, Angie. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, guys. We've got severe storms in the picture, not just today, but the next couple of days. This is a multi-day threat for us. And a lot of it is focused across the middle of the country. And that's already where you see some of these thunderstorms firing up. But as the day goes on, of course, the recipe and all the ingredients that you need for some of those really strong storms will be there. Let's talk about how that plays out between now and tonight. We're going to watch this system kind of lift shift to the north. It's a warm front. Ahead of that, you'll notice all of the thunderstorm activity, some of which we're already seeing this morning. We'll see that severe risk stretched across parts of Texas all the way as far north as Nebraska. It looks like the greatest chance for some of those stronger storms is going to be places like Garden City to Wichita Falls. But we do have, of course, that chance to see some of those stronger tornadoes. And what's most concerning is especially after dark. So after the sun goes down, we know how much more dangerous nocturnal tornadoes are. And those are on the table today, not to mention they could be quite strong, some of them. EF2 or higher, again, that same bullseye of the area. But from Texas all the way up into portions of Nebraska, that's where we'll see that risk of tornadoes at all. Now, moving ahead to tomorrow, we wrap up our work week on Friday with some of that heavy rain working into the upper Midwest. But that's actually not what's most concerning. It's the next day, the next kind of repeat round of what we have as far as severe storms that's going to now be from parts of Texas all the way up as far north as Des Moines. That's where we'll see the chance for some of those stronger storms. And you can see how expansive this is with all hazards possible. So the large hail, the strong tornadoes, and those gusty damaging winds are going to be possible, especially places like Kansas City metro area and Omaha metro area. That's where we're looking for that best chance of some of those stronger tornadoes, again, for the afternoon hours of your Friday and into your Saturday. And if I sound like a broken record, it's because, I mean, we've got multiple days of the same kind of threat that we're going to watch, and this goes into your Saturday. So afternoon plans, evening plans for your Saturday. During the day, you're going to want to make sure you have a way to get those alerts because, once again, we start to see a new storm system take shape across parts of the southern plains, and the tornado potential will be there. It ramps up as the day goes on, and once again, Kansas City to Oklahoma City, that's the best chance for it, so that's where the enhanced risk is. But notice how expansive this is from Michigan all the way down to Texas, guys. We're going to be watching this as we go to into our weekend, not to mention some heavy rain possible as well.
All right, Angie Lassman, thank you so much. Well, stay with us. There is much more to come here on Morning News Now.
Later this hour, a Morning News Now exclusive. Actor Jesse Tyler Ferguson opening up about his love of the stage, how he's now working to save theater programs all across the country.
And I'm Claudio Lavanga in Venice, where starting from today, well, tourists may find it a little harder to visit here. I'll tell you why and what you need to know before you plan your next trip.
Welcome back. All right, we're used to paying for admission, right, to museums, theme parks, things like that. But what about a whole city? Starting today, Venice, Italy is now requiring some tourists to buy a ticket to enter. But so far, the change is not popular with tourists or residents. NBC News international correspondent Claudio Lavanga is in Venice. You poor thing. He joins us now with the details. Claudio, good morning.
Good morning, Savannah. Well, Venice is arguably one of the most beautiful and popular destinations in the world, but for a long time now, it has been struggling with the overwhelming number of tourists here. Well, now to tackle the problem, the mayor is trying to do something that no other city in the world has ever attempted before.
Venice is sometimes called an open-air museum. From today, tourists will have to pay an entry ticket as if it was one. From now on, day trippers will be charged around $5 to enter the city. Among them are these tourists who arrived in Venice by train. Instead of being met by gondoliers, they were stopped by ticket inspectors asking for a QR code, the proof they registered on a dedicated website.
I come here as often as I can. I'll be back next year. I was here last year with my grandchildren, and I'll pay it every time. Venice is worth it.
The fee only applies to visitors who did not book accommodation, and only then on selected holidays and weekends. The aim, reduce overcrowding on busy days.
We are not looking to collect money, to tax people, or to introduce a police state into Venice. So we are very democratic about it. It's been very important, the message. So please, if you are a day tripper, choose another day.
Venice has long had a problem with over-tourism. About 50,000 people visit the city every day on average. That's the same as the number of residents. But not all Venetians support the pilot scheme.
I don't think this is going to work, as in my experience as a tour guide. Tourists I talk to say that it's not just a way to monetize. They're ready to pay €5 in their budget to visit Venice in a day.
The main concern ahead of today was that not many tourists, especially foreigners, were aware of the fee or how to pay.
Venice belongs to those who love it.
The local administration launched a campaign advertising the new policy. But some posters across the city were ripped off the walls arguably by angry locals. The local administration says that about 60,000 people registered to access Venice so far. 6,000 of them were paying day visitors. The proof, they say, the pilot scheme worked and did not go dead in the water.
Now, the entry ticket system is still in its experimental phase, but the mayor here says that several cities around the world have already approached him because they may want to follow Venice's example in the future. He says that some of them are in the United States, but he hasn't revealed which ones yet. Back to you guys.
All right, super interesting. Claudia Lavanga, thank you so much.
More international news now. Secretary of State Antony Blinken met with senior officials in China amid growing tensions between the two countries.
Matt Bodnar joins us now with that and more. Hey, Matt, good morning.
Savannah, Joe, good morning. Let's kick this off today in Shanghai, where U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is on day 2 of his 3-day visit to China. In Shanghai today, Blinken called on China to level the playing field for American companies operating there. U.S.-China relations have generally been on the up and up for the past year, but recently tensions have crept back in over issues such as Taiwan, Russia's war in Ukraine, and economic and trade practices. Blinken's trip is intended to help ease those tensions. He will meet with his counterpart Wang Yi in Beijing tomorrow. President Xi is said to potentially be attending that meeting as well. Moving along now to Kenya, where the capital city of Nairobi has been overtaken by extreme flooding. Heavy rains over the past several days are responsible for the flooding, which has killed at least 32 people and displaced more than 40,000. That is according to the United Nations. Images out of Nairobi are, of course, dramatic, showing flooded neighborhoods and streets. East Africa in general has been getting hit hard by rain in recent weeks. It's being fueled by the Indian Ocean dipole. This is sometimes called the Indian Nino, given the similarities with the El Nino phenomenon in the Pacific. And we'll wrap things up this hour in Ireland, where the staff of a small shop is celebrating the store's second ever sale of a multi-million-euro lotto ticket. Tom Brosnan, manager of Geo Stores in Limerick, says the shop must be the luckiest in town. Almost 20 years ago, the same store sold a 112 million euro ticket. Today's winner is yet to come forward, but they are now eligible to claim 8.9 million euros from the win. The shop's owner said of the winner's delay, quote, "I'd be in like a rocket if it was me." Me too. Back to you guys.
They look like they won the lottery. My goodness.
Me too. Matt Bodnar, thank you so much.
Coming up, protecting the expecting. When we come back, the new workplace rules aimed at helping pregnant employees.
And 10 years later, we will take you to Flint, Michigan, where the city is still working to recover from a water contamination crisis. This is Morning News Now. Welcome back. The federal government is out with new regulations so pregnant women can know what to expect when they are expecting from their workplace, including time off and new accommodations.
The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission announced these new rules under the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act. It includes time off for childbirth, abortion, and pregnancy loss. It also includes other accommodations like breaks for hydrating, resting, and leave for medical appointments.
Let's bring in Jamie Abrams for more on this. She is a professor of law at the American University Washington College of Law. Professor, good morning. Thanks very much for joining us. So what are some of the other accommodations included in these new rules? And then also who's eligible and who is not here?
Yes, so anyone who works at a place of employment with 15 or more employees is eligible for these protections. If they proactively ask for them, they are eligible for reasonable protections so long as the protection doesn't create an undue hardship on the employer. So that might include stools to sit down, or the ability to stand up, or time off for medical appointments, or space for lactation. It spans the full course of pregnancy.
So these guidelines specifically do address abortions. Time off for abortion care is considered reasonable under the act and now requires job protection. With all the battles we're seeing in state houses and courtrooms across the country over abortion, do you think we can expect any legal challenges to these guidelines?
Well, certainly at this point, I think we can expect legal challenges on anything relating to abortion, but this is in the purview of what the EEOC has done for decades. So the EEOC also implements regulations relating to pregnancy discrimination and to disability accommodations under the Americans with Disabilities Act. So what the agency has done here is consistent so the definition underlying is the relating to pregnancy. And so abortion is relating to pregnancy in the agency's interpretation as under Title VII, the ADA, and now the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act.
Let's talk about how women can ask for these accommodations. How do you file these requests? What are their options, maybe if they're not hearing back or they feel their request is denied?
Yes, it's quite different than prior statutes. Here, it is not self-effectuating, meaning no supervisor is going to knock on your door and ask you what you need to support you while pregnant. To the contrary, instead, the onus is on workers to ask their supervisors. But there's no form to fill out, nor is there any magic language. You don't even have to reference this law. You just have to ask for the reasonable things that you need relating to pregnancy, so that then triggers what's called an iterative process, or a little negotiation with your supervisor and your place of employment about whether what you've asked for is reasonable. So that's more fluid, and it allows the employee and the employer to navigate pregnancy through the full course of it as needs may change.
Professor Abrams, when it comes to just workplace culture here in the U.S., do you see these new rules having a positive impact?
I think it's very, very positive. Notably, this is the first statute Congress has passed on a bipartisan basis in almost a half a century relating to the rights of pregnant women on the job. And so we're opening up a new space here, and the protections are quite strong, and employers are protected too. If employers engage in these negotiations in good faith, if they violate the statute, they're only able to be sued for very limited damages. So I think we've set up some really nice guardrails to allow pregnant workers to ask for the things they need and to incentivize employers to provide them. But notably, the statute only works if we empower the workforce to ask for these things and we train our supervisors to deliver.
That's a really good point. Professor Jamie Abrams, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Today marks 10 years since the dawn of one of Michigan City's infamous water crises, and a decade in, residents say Flint still is not fully fixed. People there tell us work to repair pipes in homes damaged by the lead-contaminated water should have been done years ago, but it's not. They say they should be able to trust what comes from their taps, but they don't. Many still use bottled water for all drinking and cooking. All this despite the president vowing to make drinking water safety a national priority. NBC News correspondent Maggie Vespa joins us now with more on this ongoing issue. Maggie, good morning.
Hey, Joe, good morning. Yeah, so a decade later, residents say Flint should be fixed. And actually, a federal judge agrees, holding the city in contempt last month, writing it has, quote, no good reason for its failures. Meanwhile, as you point out, that routine of using bottled water and not trusting the taps continues. So last week, we went back to Flint to find out why. In an infamous crisis that put the safety of America's tap water under a microscope, it was the iconic shot. April 25th, 2014, politicians in Flint, Michigan pushed a button switching the city's drinking water source from Detroit's system to the Flint River, later admitting their critical failure to treat that river water, causing it to corrode lead pipes and poison people.
It turned out to a growing crisis in Flint, Michigan over the city's water supply.
In the years that followed, Flint became famous for images of murky tap water and cases of contamination, many in children. This week, 10 years later, Melissa Mays says Flint still isn't fully fixed. If you had to use one word to sum up the fight over the last 10 years, what would it be?
Exhausting. It is exhausting because Flint residents have never been off the front lines of the fight.
The married mom of three, who still uses bottled water for all drinking and cooking, is a plaintiff in one of multiple lawsuits brought against the city, state, and several current and former officials. Suits that have produced major settlements. In 2017, a federal judge demanded the city remove all lead service lines leading into homes and replace them with modern, safe ones, then repair damage done by that work to yards and homes. The deadline, 2020. 4 years past that deadline, court filings show out of close to 30,000 addresses, Flint's replaced lines at all but 31, with hundreds more declining the service. Mays says advocates have done their own outreach and argues the city is even further behind than they claim.
So they talk about how many people, homes have been excavated, but not restored, and there's thousands.
A judge last month holding Flint in contempt, writing the city has failed to abide by the court's orders in several respects, adding it has no good reason for its failures. Flint's current mayor, Sheldon Neely, who took office in 2019 and is not a named defendant in the lawsuit, says he wanted the work finished long ago.
And for people sitting at home and they're just thinking, 10 years later, how is Flint not fixed? What is the answer to that?
No, we work it every single day, and everything doesn't happen overnight. Starting out with one engineering firm, and then another engineering firm, and then another engineering firm, and some of that information had not been transferred to each engineering firm based upon contracts, based upon whatever reasoning.
On top of bureaucratic delays, the mayor says repairs stopped during the pandemic. He denies Mays' claim that the city has thousands more homes to reach or repair, but says anyone who hasn't gotten lines replaced should contact the city.
We have roughly about 1,900 structures where we didn't get consent to be able to get into those structures.
Do people have a right to be furious about the delay?
Yes, absolutely.
The mayor, meanwhile, championing the $146 million in infrastructure upgrades to treat the city's water, which now comes from Lake Huron.
We're also replacing poisonous lead pipes that go into 10 million homes in America, 400,000 school and child care centers.
In Flint's wake, drinking water has become a national priority, with President Biden's infrastructure law setting aside $15 billion toward lead pipe replacement nationwide. Meanwhile, Melissa Mays says the untreated water also corroded their homes' pipes, which the government is not paying to replace. She says many residents don't trust their tap.
Yeah, it's clear it looks fine.
Yeah, and the problem is that we don't know what's in this because lead and other dangerous contaminants and neurotoxins have no color, taste, or odor.
As for her kids, all three, including 19-year-old Cole, have permanent health problems like compromised immune systems, as well as damaged kidneys and growth plates.
Flint is not getting fixed. 2016, everybody stood up for us and fought for Flint. We need that again, because without that external pressure, it's going to be another 10 years, and then another, and another, and it's terrifying.
So, Maggie, one big piece of the puzzle when it comes to helping residents is the money from these lawsuits. We saw that headline about the big $626 million settlement, but people in Flint haven't actually seen those payouts yet, right?
No, they haven't, Joe. That was a historic settlement. It was reached back in 2021. So, 3 years later, what's the holdup? Well, the mayor says effectively the federal courts are still trying to decide how to disperse that money between each household. Say, for instance, how much should a household of one adult get versus, say, like a family of 5 who had young kids at the time who were impacted. So he says he expects, the last update was, that process should wrap in June, with the money being dispersed hopefully soon after that. Meantime, experts with the National Resources Defense Council who have been tracking this closely, they say every American should have a water filter certified to remove lead, because they say, as Flint proved, at least to some degree, Flint's problem is actually America's problem.
That's a good point. All right, Maggie, thank you for that report. Very important.
Yeah, very strong reporting. Coming up, Reggie Bush reinstated, the USC football legend getting his Heisman back more than a decade after being forced to forfeit the trophy. Why the decision marks a turning point in college sports.
And speaking of USC Heisman winners, Caleb Williams getting ready to go pro as the projected top pick in tonight's NFL draft. We'll have more on one of the most stacked draft classes in years. This is Morning News Now. In this year's draft, though, we are expecting a lot more drama. The 2024 NFL draft kicks off tonight and features one of the most highly touted draft classes in years. It's an exciting night for football fans all across the country who are anxiously waiting to see who will give their favorite team a roster boost. Here to help us break it all down is NFL insider at USA Today, Tyler Dragon. Tyler, good to have you with us. So speaking of USC, the first pick of the draft seems to be a lock, with USC quarterback Caleb Williams expected to go to the Chicago Bears. For those who haven't seen him play or don't know much about him, what makes him so special?
Yeah, he's a mobile quarterback. He has a really strong arm. He's a quick processor in the pocket, and he can extend plays with his feet. He's a former Heisman Trophy winner. And really, when you rank him amongst all the quarterbacks in this year's draft class, he's probably the safest pick among the quarterbacks. He's a leader. He was a leader in that USC team. And really, just his playmaking ability as a quarterback just sets him apart from the rest of the quarterback prospects in this year's draft class.
So with Williams expected to go first, the big question, who's next in a stacked quarterback draft class, as you mentioned? Where do you see some of the biggest names ending up?
Yeah, so the defending Heisman Trophy winner, Jaden Daniels, I have him going number 2 to the Washington Commanders, and he really reminds me of a young Randall Cunningham. He's the most mobile quarterback in this year's draft class. I really like his ability to throw the football in intermediate and short passes. And then I would not be surprised if Drake May, the quarterback out of North Carolina, gets drafted number 3 overall to the New England Patriots. He's kind of a big body quarterback with a strong arm. And then there could be as many as 4 quarterbacks going 1, 2, 3, 4. That would be the first time in NFL history that has happened. If so, maybe a J.J. McCarthy team maybe could trade up to the number 4 pick. Arizona Cardinals, they're not going to draft a quarterback. They currently have the number 4 pick. So a team could trade up to that spot and draft a QB like a J.J. McCarthy with the number 4 pick. So those are kind of my top-ranked quarterbacks, along with Michael Penix Jr. out of Washington. He's probably the best thrower of the football in this year's draft class. So those are my top quarterbacks.
Clearly a big year for quarterbacks. There are a lot of big-name wide receivers. Fans are watching, too. Who are some of your top names there?
Marvin Harrison Jr. His dad's a Pro Football Hall of Famer, and this kid has the ability to be just like his dad, the Ohio State receiver. I would not be surprised if he gets drafted to the Arizona Cardinals. He's the top-ranked receiver on my board. After him is Malik Neighbors. He's an athletic freak, really. He can take the ball to the house as soon as he gets it. Another receiver, maybe Rome Odunze out of Washington. He's a big-body receiver, has a big catch radius, is a physical type. So those are my top 3 receivers, and I would not be surprised if all 3 of them go in the top 10 today.
Anything, of course, can happen in the draft. You mentioned perhaps trading up. We have like 45 seconds here, but do you see any teams maybe trying to make some last-minute moves here?
Yeah, the Minnesota Vikings, they have 2 picks in the first round, pick number 11 and 23. I can see them trying to trade up inside the top 5 to get a quarterback, maybe a J.J. McCarthy to the Vikings, because they really don't have a franchise quarterback in their roster. So that's the team to watch tonight, along with maybe the Denver Broncos and the Las Vegas Raiders.
I'm from Minnesota. The Vikings could always use all the help that they can get. All right, Tyler Dragon, thanks so much for joining us this morning. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on.
Coming up, actor Jesse Tyler Ferguson opening up about his love for the stage.
The backbone of American theater is built on nonprofit. I mean, without it, these voices are not given a chance to grow.
Up next, our Morning News Now exclusive as he opens up about his plans to work with lawmakers to keep community theater programs alive. Stay with us. You're watching Morning News Now. It's always interesting to see where your favorite stars got their start. A surprising number first appeared on the small stages of community theaters before eventually breaking into movies and TV. Well, now there is a push in Congress to better fund those theaters, and it's getting more support from some of the celebrities who used to call those spaces home. NBC News congressional correspondent Julie Sirkin joins us now with an exclusive interview looking closer at this. Julie, good morning.
Yeah, hey, Joe, good morning. I spoke to some of those Hollywood stars, to theater directors that are responsible for some of the best hits on Broadway. First, those shows got their start in what's called nonprofit professional theaters, and lawmakers on Capitol Hill want to save them.
Some of your favorite Hollywood stars got their start in local theater.
I loan thee this sharp-pointed dagger.
They provide a place for creativity, expression, and community.
If she lives till doomsday, she'll burn a week longer than the whole world.
It's where the artists can find out who they are and become themselves before they go out into the wider world. And it's where communities can see themselves reflected.
But because of the lingering pandemic hangover, the curtains are closing. A group of lawmakers say the show must go on.
We need to remember what theater does for the soul and for the heart.
Introducing legislation that would surge resources to stages with $1 billion annually used for rent, payroll, and employing artists, attracting new audiences, and investing in the industry. The Democrats behind the bill say it could provide a boost to local economies.
We have people in all of our communities, red state or blue state, that are completely committed to making that local theater vital. And it's for bringing people together so they can have conversations among people who disagree with each other.
During COVID, Congress passed a bipartisan bill that infused $15 billion in the industry, but smaller theaters were left behind.
This legislation is absolutely critical to the survival of these theaters. These professional theaters around the country were not only hit by the pandemic, but also we've had a lagging recovery coming back. We were the first to close, the last to come back.
The situation so dire that 2 actors went right to the halls of power.
You took time out of your day, you took time out of your busy lives to come here to advocate for this legislation. What does it mean to you to be able to, play such a voice, play such a part in this? No pun intended.
I mean, it was an easy yes. This art, this community, being able to be a stage actor means the world to me. I want to see it grow. The backbone of American theater is built on nonprofit. I mean, without it, these voices are not given a chance to grow.
What would happen if we didn't have them?
Careers are being built, dreams are being built, where communities are coming together. I grew up a very shy, lonely kid, and I found my people in theater. I did, I know.
Though it's hard to believe that Jesse Tyler Ferguson was ever shy. He still acts with the public theater.
I did kill King Henry.
And so does Denai Guerrera, who you'll recognize as General Okoye in the Academy Award-winning Black Panther.
The sort of stretch of imagination that the theater can take you to, where, someone like me, a Zimbabwean American woman, is playing a dead, old, notorious British king. That doesn't happen anywhere but in theater.
Imagination, exactly what the actors and lawmakers say is lacking, with younger generations connecting more with their screens than face-to-face.
You want your kid off their phone and their tablet, just put them in a theater program. They really work because they allow a child to feel the power of their creativity.
Senator Fetterman has 3 young kids of his own.
Well, I'm not really in a position to give advice on getting their kids off their phones because my kids are on their phones. But I do actually have a theater within my own home. I would want anybody that's watching this to understand that investments in the theater community is a major investment in economic development.
So, Joe, like we talked about in the piece, remember, this was a bipartisan effort during COVID, $15 billion infused that these theater directors, these lawmakers now say were mostly used by the Broadway shows, by the big plays. These smaller community theaters were left behind, though this is just a Democratic effort for now. There are more co-sponsors joining every day, and they're hopeful that they can reach across the aisle here, too, and make some progress.
That's good. What's interesting is how many of these actors we see then return to the theater and go on Broadway and off Broadway years later. Julie, thanks so much for that report. Appreciate it. That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now. The news continues right now. Good Thursday morning. I'm Joe Fryer. Savannah will be with us a little later in the hour. Right now on Morning News Now, the chaos on campuses continues. Violent confrontations disturbing universities from coast to coast as pro-Palestinian demonstrations spread. Nearly 100 people were arrested at the University of Southern California yesterday. Dozens more at the University of Texas in Austin. Got team coverage in a moment. Fresh legal trouble in former President Trump's circle. Nearly a dozen Republican officials, including his former chief of staff, Mark Meadows, and attorney Rudy Giuliani, indicted for their alleged efforts to interfere with election results in Arizona. We've got more on that as the Supreme Court prepares to weigh whether the former president could be immune from crimes he's accused of committing while in the White House. Also this morning, the clock is ticking for TikTok. President Biden signing into law that controversial legislation that could potentially ban the app if it doesn't break from its Chinese parent company. Will TikTok take legal action? We've got the latest as both creators and lawmakers sound the alarm. Plus, the stage is set for tonight's NFL draft live from Detroit. But who will join one of the most exclusive clubs in sports as the #1 pick? We've got a preview later in the hour. Good to have you with us on this Thursday. This morning, colleges across the U.S. are preparing for more demonstrations after dozens of arrests on campuses from coast to coast. The protests are in support of Gaza. Some have taken the form of tent encampments, and they're increasingly becoming flashpoints for confrontations with police. The Los Angeles Police Department said that dozens of protesters were arrested at USC after they refused to leave Central Campus. These protests in the U.S. began at Columbia University here in New York last week, where a demonstration and encampment were followed by a crackdown and arrests. House Speaker Mike Johnson visited Columbia's campus Wednesday to hear the accounts of Jewish students who feel threatened by the protests. NBC News senior national correspondent Stephanie Gosk has the latest.
Columbia University has extended the deadline for that tent encampment by 48 hours, but that deadline runs out tonight. And the students who I've spoken with say they aren't going anywhere. Meanwhile, tension is growing and spreading on campuses coast to coast, leading to dramatic confrontations with police and dozens of arrests.
The temperature this morning on some college campuses reaching a boiling point. A growing number of protests forming over the ongoing war in the Middle East at campuses across the country, some leading to standoffs, including the University of Texas at Austin. Students and police clashing during protests Wednesday. More than 30 were taken into custody. Protesters gathered outside the jail, with some faculty saying in a statement they would not work today. And overnight, police and protesters also clashing at the University of Southern California. Officers hit with objects arrested more than 90 people, though it's unclear how many were students. And back on the East Coast, a dramatic scene at Emerson College, where students are encamped on an alleyway in the middle of downtown Boston. Police and demonstrators facing off. The tensions rising nationwide as reports of anti-Semitism and Islamophobia have skyrocketed since last October, with the Anti-Defamation League and Center for American Islamic Relations each reporting record-high complaints. House Speaker Mike Johnson and other Republican lawmakers at Columbia University Wednesday, where they were shouted at by students. The lawmakers calling on school president Manoush Shafiq to resign over her handling of an encampment where police arrested dozens this week, in which some Jewish students say has become a point of intimidation.
The first responsibility of a university administrator is to keep their students safe.
Mr. Speaker, if you were the president of Columbia University today, what would you do about this tent encampment?
I would immediately bring order to the chaos. If necessary, I would call in the NYPD. I would ask the governor to send in the National Guard.
The Columbia Board of Trustees has come out with a statement in support of Columbia President Manoush Shafiq, saying that she has struck that ever-important balance between freedom of speech and also protecting students on this campus from harassment and intimidation. Back to you.
All right, Stephanie, thank you. Let's turn now to the situation at the University of Texas in Austin. NBC News correspondent Guad Venegas is there for us. Guad, good morning. So more than 30 people were arrested on campus yesterday at a pro-Palestine rally. Walk us through what happened and how things are looking today.
Joe, yeah, the number we got yesterday officially from Texas Department of Public Safety is that 34 individuals were arrested. So things here began with an event that was planned by the Palestinian Solidarity Committee. They had informed the university that they were planning a walkout to take place yesterday. Now, the university sent this organization a letter the night before asking them not to proceed with the event, saying it would violate the university's rules. Of course, it did happen, as we've seen in the images. The walkout began around noon yesterday. yesterday. Most of that taking place behind me. As you can see, things are much more calm here. Things here are different from what's happening in other universities like Columbia, where students have camped out. So essentially, we had this walkout with students protesting, pro-Palestinian protesters who arrived in this area. And eventually, it became a standoff between the police and the students. Now, the university did call in state troopers who appeared in riot gear, and there was a lot of pushing and shoving. Now, at one point, after individuals were being arrested, they were taken to a jail. Some protesters went to that jail last night asking for their release. The university is standing by what they said they would do, stopping these protesters. And I mean, these are the images you can see of how violent this turned yesterday. Most of those protesters dispersed by the evening, but we'll have to wait and see what happens today, Joe.
Guad, you mentioned some of the actions the university has taken. Anything else we're hearing from the school? Do they expect more protests?
So, Joe, the university's president released a statement yesterday standing by their decision to call in the police and to call in the state troopers. The president adding in that release that the University of Texas will continue to take necessary steps so that all of the university functions proceed without interruption. Just like other universities, we're nearing the end of the semester here with students preparing for their finals, having to study. So the university is saying that this can interrupt all of that taking place. Now, the organization, the Palestinian Solidarity Committee, has gone to social media to ask students to walk out once again today. So they're asking for another protest that would be taking place right after 12:15 today, Joe.
You mentioned some of what you're hearing from students who are preparing for finals. I know you've been speaking with students. Anything else you're hearing from them about all this?
Well, a lot of the students that were here yesterday were upset at the presence of police officers and state troopers. We saw students being arrested. Some of the individuals that were being arrested were also saying that they had been protesting peacefully when they were detained. At some point, Joe, there was also a member of the media that was handcuffed and taken away by authorities. They said he had shoved a police officer. So there was a lot of confusion and pushing and shoving. There was also a small group of individuals, about 15 of them, with Israeli flags, who said they did not want the protesters on campus and were thankful for the decision that the university made by bringing in the police and the state troopers, Joe.
All right, Guad, thank you so much. This morning, the Supreme Court is set to hear arguments about former President Trump's bid for presidential immunity from prosecution. Now, this all centers on the 2020 federal election interference case. It comes after an Arizona grand jury indicted 18 people for their alleged role in trying to overturn the 2020 election result in that state. 11 Republican officials are named for their part in the so-called fake electors scheme. NBC News senior legal correspondent Laura Jarrett has the latest.
Hey, Joe, Savannah, good morning to you. The justice is set to hear an issue, the last of the term, an issue they've never faced before. A former American president charged with trying to defraud the government he once led, arguing he should be completely immune from prosecution. But the timing of the justice's ultimate ruling here, perhaps just as important as the ultimate decision itself.
This morning, the high court forced to confront the key question that will determine if Donald Trump goes to trial for trying to overturn the last election before the election this November. This as the former president faces fresh legal jeopardy for his efforts to subvert the 2020 election results. This time in Arizona, where a state grand jury indicted 11 Republican officials Wednesday for their unsuccessful ploy to award the state's electoral votes to Mr. Trump, despite his election loss to President Biden. Among those indicted, his former chief of staff, Mark Meadows, and Mr. Trump's former lawyer, Rudy Giuliani.
I will not allow American democracy to be undermined. It's too important.
Mr. Trump is described as an unindicted co-conspirator, but was not charged. Yet his efforts to stop the peaceful transfer of power.
We will never give up. We will never concede.
Also at the heart of the case in front of the U.S. Supreme Court today. As his legal team hopes to persuade the justices he should be held completely immune from the charges. Any acts he took while still president, his side argues, must be shielded from any prosecution.
You cannot allow a president to be out there without immunity. They don't have immunity. You don't have a presidency.
But a federal appeals court was unpersuaded, using stark hypotheticals on what a future president could do and still avoid criminal charges.
Could a president order SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival?
In the view of Mr. Trump's lawyer, yes. Special counsel Jack Smith has urged the high court to reject Mr. Trump's immunity theory and quickly.
My office will seek a speedy trial in this matter.
Writing in court papers, a bedrock principle of our constitutional order is that no person is above the law, including the president. But the elephant in the courtroom, the impending election, as the prospect of a trial completed before November, very much in doubt.
Now, back on the timing here, this is where everybody is closely dialed in and paying attention. Even if the justices were to rule within a week, say, very quickly, then Mr. Trump would still get the benefit of all of this time that has elapsed, and so he wouldn't go to trial immediately. But if they don't rule right away, Joe and Savannah, if they wait until late June, then the trial has no hope of going to trial before November. Back to you.
All right, Laura, thank you so much. The Supreme Court hearing comes as the former president's hush money trial set to resume today here in New York. We're awaiting a decision from the judge on whether Mr. Trump violated a gag order that prohibits him from attacking jurors and witnesses on social media. Also, David Pecker, the former National Enquirer publisher, is expected to continue his testimony today. Mr. Trump himself began the day earlier this morning in Midtown Manhattan, outside of J.P. Morgan Chase's New York headquarters that's under construction. Met with union workers and some of his supporters. NBC News legal analyst Annie Savalos joins us now with more on what we can expect inside the courtroom. So first of all, let's start with this gag order decision, which we could get today. What could we expect possibly from the judge? What are the scenarios? And then what impact will that have on this trial moving forward?
Yeah, I wouldn't have been surprised if he uploaded an order yesterday when this trial was dark, although the court was probably conducting business. You may see him take the bench this morning and just announce it from the bench. Order to follow, a written order to follow might be uploaded. But what I think he'll do, consistent with the way he's approached this case so far, which is to split the difference. In other words, find that Donald Trump violated the gag order, impose maybe minimal sanctions. But that's a big win for the people because they're only looking for the first rung of the ladder of sanctions. That way you set a baseline if you're the people. And then if you're back 2 hearings later, you say, Judge, you know, the first time around, all we asked for was $1,000. He violated that. He's continued to violate that. We are farther along on the continuum. And that continuum, it ends in exactly one place. It's incarceration to punish someone for violating contempt orders.
Let's talk about the testimony. David Pecker back on the stand today. This will be day 3 of testimony. What have been the highlights so far? And then what do you expect when he's cross-examined in this case?
So many highlights for David Pecker. First of all, he's an old-time friend of Donald Trump. That adds to his credibility. He doesn't have the credibility issues of a Michael Cohen. So in that sense, he's a stronger witness. He's interesting. And, Joe, I know that you don't consider what the National Enquirer does to be traditional journalism.
I'm just raising the question.
But I have to say that as somebody hearing that world described, I'm riveted, and I am pretty jaded and bored during trial, having been on trial. If I'm fascinated by it, then the jury must be absolutely fascinated, because if you're just if you work in the teaching industry or in some other job in an office, most of us don't know how that world works, the National Enquirer, the checkbook journalism. So I think the jury is listening with rapt attention, and I think the people wouldn't have put David Pecker on the stand if they didn't think he would come out with a bang and get the case started in a way that would have jurors listening.
And you do realize that no matter what your feelings on the National Enquirer, it is something that does have an impact and influence in our society. You talk about a big bang. How important is it to have a first witness like David Pecker? How does that set the stage for the weeks that lie ahead?
If you're the government, if you're the prosecution, you want to start with a really compelling witness. You don't want to bore the jury out of the gate. There's going to be boring testimony, so you sandwich that in. Sometimes you alternate fascinating witness with maybe more boring witness, but it really is about an orchestration. You're putting on a show as a prosecutor. The defense role is very different. We're just trying to knock down any one of the prosecution's spinning plates. We have no burden, so all we have to do is poke holes and create reasonable doubt. But make no mistake about it, the people have to build a building brick by brick, and they want to open with their strongest piece of evidence and maybe close with their strongest piece of evidence. take the case to a crescendo and leave the jurors just convinced that they've proven their case.
And these are long days of testimony, but do you suspect if we have David Pecker now and eventually Stormy Daniels, Michael Cohen, that the jury is really going to be paying close attention, that they will have rapt attention?
Yes, they're going to be paying attention, but even as the people themselves concede, witnesses like Michael Cohen have some credibility issues. That's where David Pecker comes in. He's going to corroborate things like communications, phone calls, documents. And here's the thing, he's only halfway done with testimony, maybe not even halfway done. We may hear a lot more about his conversations with Donald Trump, because so far there has been some testimony about his conversations with Trump. But if I'm the defense, I'm thinking cross-examination. Let's try to focus on how most of the communications appeared to be with Michael Cohen, because to borrow a line from Godfather 2, Donald Trump appears to be one of those people that used a lot of buffers who handled his business. So they've gone a long way in showing there was a relationship between Pecker and Cohen, and to some degree Trump. The people know they need to shore that up with more connecting the dots.
All right, Danny Savalos, thank you so much. New developments in the war in Gaza. Hamas has released an undated video showing American-Israeli hostage Hersh Goldberg Poland alive. This is the first time we've seen him since he was abducted more than 6 months ago. NBC News international correspondent Raf Sanchez joins us now from Jerusalem with the latest. Raf, good morning.
Joe, good morning. For 200 days, John and Rachel Goldberg Poland did not know whether their son Hersh was alive or dead until they saw this video. We just wrapped up an interview with them here in Jerusalem. They tell us they will not rest until there is a deal to bring home not just Hersh, but all the remaining hostages.
Shalom.
This morning, the FBI looking for clues in this Hamas video of American-Israeli hostage Hersh Goldberg Poland and his parents getting a first glimpse of their missing son. The video is undated, and it shows Hersh has lost his left hand, but he's alive. His family gave us permission to show the footage.
What was it like for you to see that video?
I mean, initially, we were just crying. This was a tremendous validation. And on the other hand, we see him, he's in captivity. He's obviously suffering with this missing dominant arm.
He certainly doesn't look like himself, but it was amazing to see him and amazing to see that he speaks like himself with clarity and strength.
The last sighting of their son was on October 7th, as he was kidnapped from the Supernova Music Festival, his left arm badly damaged by a Hamas grenade. Rachel and John have campaigned tirelessly for their son's release. Since October 7th, a painful daily ritual.
So every day I write the number of days it's been since Hersh was stolen.
Hersh is one of 5 Americans still believed to be alive in Hamas captivity. 4 others were released last year, including 4-year-old Abigail Edan, the youngest American, who yesterday became the first freed hostage to meet President Biden at the White House. But Israel says 133 hostages are still in Gaza, at least 36 of them confirmed dead.
How do you stay hopeful?
Well, we say all the time, hope is mandatory. So it's not really a choice, it's mandatory.
Hope is mandatory. That is the family's mantra. Now, while the world only saw that hostage video for the first time last night, a source familiar with the situation tells NBC News Hamas actually passed it to Qatar several days ago, who passed it on to the U.S. government. Joe.
All right, Raf, thanks so much for that interview. Appreciate it. Turning now to your morning news now weather forecast. Severe storms threatening the Midwest over the next few days.
That's right. Angie Lastman's back in the studio with more. Hey, Angie, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. Really concerning situations developing here over the next couple of days when it comes to the potential for severe weather. We've got all hazards possible, and this is going to be a multi-day event. So let's start at the beginning, what we're dealing with right now. We've got some of these thunderstorms that are moving across parts of the plains. We've got some likely lightning, rumbles of thunder that you're hearing in places like Little Rock and points north of that, back towards Wichita, and even into parts of Nebraska. This is where we're going to be watching watching today, specifically right along this front as it lifts to the north slowly but surely. That's going to pop up some of these thunderstorms that could be quite active here as we get into the afternoon and even after dark tonight into those evening hours. Of course, that is concerning when it comes to tornadoes. Here's the area that we're looking at. So big chunk of the middle of the country, the greatest chance for some of this more active weather, Amarillo to Oklahoma City, as far south as Texas and stretching up into Nebraska. We do, as I mentioned, have all the hazards possible. So large hail is going to be possible, but tornadoes too. And that's going to be centered right into the center of the country. Garden City stretching into portions of the northern parts of Texas. That's where we have the best chance for some of those larger, stronger tornadoes that we're so concerned about here as the day goes on. So a way to get alerts if you live anywhere from Texas north into Nebraska, parts of Kansas, Oklahoma, all included in that. You're going to want to have a way to get any of those alerts as these thunderstorms continue to roll through here through the day today. Tomorrow, the rain will work into the Midwest. Not so much concerned about that. Maybe some localized flooding, but again, the severe risk, that's going to move a little farther to the east. So Dallas to Des Moines, that's where we're watching tomorrow as we round out our work week. For your Friday plans, it looks like the bullseyes, Kansas City to Omaha. That's the spot where we'll really be watching for, once again, those stronger tornadoes, the larger tornadoes, EF2 or higher possible. Omaha to Kansas City. And again, the hail and those winds are also going to be in question too over the next couple of days. By the time we get into Saturday, I know we're all looking ahead to the weekend, but we're not done with the severe threat just yet. We're still going to be looking at the potential right in the middle of the country. We do have a new storm system that'll start to work its way across that region, and the potential for tornadoes, that'll ramp up as well. We look at it from places like Texas all the way up into the Midwest, Kansas City, Wichita, Oklahoma City. Those are some of the major metro areas that will be included in this for Saturday. Outdoor activities, all those kind of things that maybe you have planned for your Saturday. Again, a way to get alerts for this. Really concerning couple of days when it comes to severe weather with tornadoes. Rainfall, I mentioned briefly. We could see a couple of spots of flooding. We're looking for anywhere from maybe 1 inch to 3 inches up to 4 inches of rain possible, but this goes through Sunday. So again, the localized flooding will be possible with anywhere from 2 to 3 inches of rain possible per hour. If you're looking for some nice weather on Friday, the East Coast is where it's at. Sunny conditions across that region, of course, really unsettled for everybody else. We'll even pick up some additional mountain snow across parts of the Rockies by Saturday. We'll, of course, be watching that severe outbreak happen, but the East Coast continuing with the sunny and warm conditions, and it'll feel like summer for folks there for Sunday. But again, those severe storms are what we're most concerned about going through the next 4 days, really.
All right. Thank you, Angie.
Thank you.
Much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later in the hour, we're going to dig into how TikTok could now fight back against a potential ban here in the U.S. after President Biden put that process into motion yesterday.
But first, after the break, arrested abroad. More on the Oklahoma man who's now facing a lengthy prison sentence after breaking a new law in Turks and Caicos. Those stories and more up next. We're back with the story of an Oklahoma father who now faces a 12-year minimum prison sentence in Turks and Caicos. Ryan Watson was celebrating his 40th birthday when he was arrested at the airport for possession of ammunition, violating a relatively new law. Now his family is waiting for answers. NBC News correspondent Sam Brock joins us now after he spoke with that father and another family going through the same thing, actually. Sam, what did they tell you?
Yeah, Savannah, they're still in shock. The entire family had no idea of the existence of this ammunition, and now it's keeping at least the father, Ryan Watson, there. He was just remanded on bond. He's on the island there in Turks and Caicos, just waiting for the government to weigh in as to how severely they will interpret this law. In the meantime, Watson right now faces potentially years behind bars away from his family.
It was the 40th birthday celebration for Ryan Watson, celebrated with his wife Valerie and 2 other couples that went from bliss to torture in an instant.
To not be with my kids, to not be home with Valerie right now it's the most awful thing that I have ever lived through at this point.
I don't know what's in store for Ryan. I don't know what's going to happen with our kids.
The chain of events started by what Watson says was a simple mistake on a trip to Turks and Caicos 2 weeks ago, not realizing his duffel bag contained deer hunting bullets from a trip months earlier.
I never recall putting that ammunition in that bag, but somehow they ended up in there.
The Turks and Caicos government tightened its laws in 2022 around firearms and ammunition with a mandatory term of imprisonment of not less than 12 years. Last September, the Bahamian embassy and U.S. governments issued warnings to travelers, but the Watsons say they were unaware.
I had never, ever intended to bring any type of ammunition into this country.
NBC Boston first broke the story of the couple's detention as their 7- and 9-year-old kids waited for them in Oklahoma City.
I was like, we can't both be in prison for 12 years. We have kids at home.
Valerie was released and reunited with her kids, but Ryan can't leave the island. Another American, Brian Hagerich, is also being detained there and awaiting trial. The Pennsylvania father of 2 was arrested in February when authorities also found hunting bullets he said he didn't know were in his bag.
This has happened to enough individuals already, and we certainly don't want to see this happen to anybody else.
Turks and Caicos officials say 8 firearms and ammunition prosecutions have involved U.S. tourists since the law went into effect. That includes this Indiana man who received a shorter 8-month sentence for exceptional circumstances. Ryan Watson says he's desperate to get home to his family.
We can't set any type of expectations on when I can be home to those kids. And that is and will always be my ultimate goal.
5 Americans so far, Savannah, have been sentenced under this new law. 4 of them only got fines, and then there was the example of that Indiana man. As far as what would qualify as exceptional circumstances, they laid out their case. The government in Turks and Caicos did and said it would be things like no intention of using the bullets for a criminal purpose and good standing and character that's demonstrated at home. Certainly the family is very much hoping that's taken into consideration as they await their trial. Savannah, let me send it back to you.
All right, Sam Brock, thank you very much.
Time for international headlines, starting with a drone attack by Ukraine on the Russia-Belarus border.
Matt Bodner is back with us with that and more. Hey, Matt, good morning.
Savannah, Joe, good morning. Let's kick this off this hour with an update from the war in Ukraine. Ukrainian drones have reported to have successfully struck a large fuel storage depot in Russia's Smolensk region. Smolensk is situated 300 miles north of Ukraine along the Russian-Belarusian border. It is the latest in an ongoing wave of Ukrainian drone strikes on Russian energy infrastructure. These attacks are being conducted despite public urging from U.S. officials not to target Russian energy infrastructure. They are citing a risk of destabilizing global energy markets. Russia remains a large exporter despite Western sanctions. Moving along now to right here in London, where a band of military horses ran wild through the city streets yesterday, one of those horses covered in blood. The horses belonged to the Household Cavalry. That's the most elite regiment in the British Army. They were spooked by construction work on the street while taking part in a training. 4 riders were thrown from their horses, which then proceeded to run through the streets, one colliding with a black cab, another with a double-decker bus. London police say all of the horses have been accounted for and they are in touch with the army. On social media, by the way, many Londoners joked that this was a sign of looming apocalypse. We'll wrap things up this hour in Japan, where a zoo has made a major discovery. Gen-chan, a hippo that was acquired by the Osaka Zoo in 2017, is in fact not a male, but actually a female. Gen-chan's documentation, issued by a zoo in Mexico, identified the hippo as a male. Initially, there were no doubts, but over time, zookeepers noticed that Gen-chan did not display any typically male behaviors. The zoo says this is all an important lesson in verifying all of the facts. Back to you guys.
Definitely. All right, Matt Bodner, thank you so much.
One way to put it.
Coming up, the future of fertility is here.
When we come back, we'll dig into some pretty groundbreaking new research that's being done right here in New York City, trying to find out if you can actually delay menopause. That's next on Morning News Now. Welcome back. The phrase, your biological clock is ticking, has been one women have dreaded for years. Well, now there may be a way to get around some of that. Doctors at Columbia are conducting a first-of-its-kind aging study to see if menopause can be delayed. If successful, this would mean women would have fewer years to suffer the effects of what's known as the change and more years to try and start a family. NBC News correspondent Ann Thompson joins us now with more on this. Hey, Ann, good morning.
Good morning, Savannah. This is really remarkable because when you think about it, the aging of a woman's ovaries are out of sync with her lifespan. Women are now living very vibrant lives into their 70s and 80s. So scientists are looking at the possibility of delaying menopause, which would also delay the increased risks of cardiovascular disease, osteoporosis, and yes, that nasty weight gain that comes along with it.
Actress and director Bonnie DiCepolo is in a profession that values youth.
But her determination to delay menopause is not just a business decision.
Your life is on a great trajectory, and then you hit this, and then there's a cascade of negative health impacts. I mean, it looks like a cliff.
Falling into a world of hot flashes, night sweats, and mood changes. Did your mom and your grandmother have health problems that you associate with menopause?
My grandmother and my aunt both broke hips, and my mother has been complaining about it for 20 years.
And Bonnie's frustrated by what she says she's heard from too many doctors.
Most doctors, they'll say, oh, it's normal, it's healthy, you can't fight it, you shouldn't fight it. But I would say, erectile dysfunction is normal and healthy, and men want to fight that.
Do you think menopause has been ignored by the medical community?
I think women have been ignored by the medical community.
Now researchers at the Columbia University Fertility Center are trying to delay menopause. Dr. Zev Williams' target is a woman's ovaries.
The ovary, for so long, has been viewed just as a source of eggs. But we really now appreciate that this little organ does so much more in terms of the woman's health and well-being.
What else does it control, or what else does it impact?
The hormones from the ovary have an impact that goes as wide as how the patient feels, the skin and appearance and wrinkles, and protecting the heart and cardiovascular disease and dementia.
Will it make women healthier?
The hope is, and this is what's so dramatic about this, that there is a potential that if we can delay menopause, we can actually not only delay a lot of the negative symptoms that can come with menopause, but delay a lot of the negative consequences from it.
Including infertility. So how are you trying to delay menopause?
By really tapping into the rate at which eggs get used up in the ovary. I think most people realize that a woman is born with all the eggs that she'll have, and that those eggs get used up as she ages, and once all the eggs are used up, that's when menopause occurs.
To slow the number of eggs a woman releases each month, Williams is using rapamycin, traditionally an anti-rejection drug for transplant patients. Does delaying menopause increase cancer risks?
This is something that we don't think will occur, but like with every intervention that we do, we're going to have to closely monitor.
Bonnie is one of 100 women between the ages of 35 and 45 in the double-blind study. Half take 5 milligrams of rapamycin once a week for 3 months. The other half gets a placebo. They are monitored for a year. So far, Dr. Williams says there are no adverse effects. And though Bonnie doesn't know if she's gotten rapamycin, she says her sleep and energy levels have improved and her skin looks even better.
Anything that will help women have more agency, more control over their bodies, more choice, not having to say, like, I have this narrow window from 25 to 35 where I have to make my whole career, get established, get a house, find a mate, and raise a family. That's a very small amount of time that we are asking modern women to do everything.
Now, Dr. Williams expects the study to be completed in about 1.5 years. They are still enrolling women. And the big question here is whether rapamycin could become the standard of care for women from the ages of 35 to 45 who are looking to delay menopause. Savannah?
All right, Anne, thank you so much. Now we have NBC News medical contributor Dr. Kavita Patel here on set with us for more on this. Hi, so fun to have you on set. Love it getting to say those words. Okay, what's your reaction to this? How much of a breakthrough is this?
So it's a great breakthrough. And by the way, this has been a drug, rapamycin, that's been studied not just in cancer and transplant, but has been long thought to be helpful in aging, always kind of in animal studies, mice, worms, flies, but the applicability to humans seems like something that should be pursued, and hopefully with this study at the beginning will lead to other, as we heard from Anne's piece, will lead to other discoveries.
So what is it we already know about this drug and how it works?
So rapamycin, what it does is it actually regulates something called mTOR, which is a protein kinase. Before I lose you with all these words, think of mTOR as the air traffic control for your cells. It kind of sends signals for cellular activity to speed up or to slow down. And especially during kind of what we thought of fertility years, it'll speed up the process of releasing eggs, for example, so optimally in the 20s, in the 30s. What the drug will do is kind of regulate that air traffic control to kind of slow down that process and hopefully just delay some of the effects, not just of aging of things like ovaries, which can affect menopause, fertility, so many things, but probably other parts of the body, which is what the study will show.
Absolutely. So a stat here, 1 in every 6 people of reproductive age worldwide will experience infertility in their lifetime. Yeah. I'm working on a lot of stories like this. It's actually helped me learn things about myself. I have something called PCOS, which we've discussed before. Right. You find out all these things that can make things more difficult to have children, and you don't really know until you know, right? Yeah. I mean, how could this sort of expansion of that ovarian cycle help people?
Yeah, it can help them not just with the obvious, kind of buying more time to have your children kind of when you choose and when it's optimal for you. But it can also help with potentially secondary infertility, which is also a leading cause of infertility. So you might have your first or second child without any assistance, and then you find yourself not being able to have children. And that's for a variety of factors. PCOS can be one of them, but it can be other things we don't understand. And as you heard, we just haven't done a great job of studying women in general. So hopefully this will open up some of the other mechanisms for aging and other processes in women.
That's what I was going to ask. If this study is successful, what could be some of the other impacts?
Yes. So some of the other impacts could be not just around how hormones affect everything from memory to other parts of health, but how the other kind of parts of your body and they respond to aging, especially as women. It's not just ovaries or the uterus, but we know that all of what we do as women is not exactly the same, and even no woman is exactly the same. So it could teach us our biology, which for decades have been neglected in clinical trials.
Really important, fascinating stuff for men and women, right?
It
just
is.
General family planning, all this kind of stuff. Dr. Patel, thank you so much. Good to have you with us.
Good to see you. Coming up is the clock ticking for TikTok.
After the break, the app must now break off from owner ByteDance or face a ban here in the U.S. But what does that all mean for TikTok's millions of American users? I'll break it down for you up next. Welcome back. This morning, TikTok saying that they will mount a challenge against that new law that would ban the popular app if it isn't sold by its Chinese parent company within a year. But selling TikTok could be easier said than done. That's the other part of this. If they sell it, it's not blocked. Beijing could block a sale, not to mention it is a tall order to try to find a buyer for this company, which is said to be worth tens of billions of dollars. For now, TikTok says they'll take it to court first.
It's going to make America safer.
This morning, the clock now ticking for TikTok to find a buyer or be banned in the U.S. after President Biden signed into law a foreign aid package that includes a provision forcing the sale of the Chinese-owned company in the next 9 months. On the app, its CEO vowing to fight back.
Make no mistake, this is a ban on TikTok and a ban on you and your voice. Rest assured, we aren't going anywhere. We are confident and we will keep fighting for your rights in the courts.
And urging users to rally in support of TikTok.
I'm going to be really upset. Like, everyone is on here.
Any potential ban is likely years away as legal challenges play out. But even if a ban does go through, TikTok wouldn't suddenly disappear from phones. Instead, no new downloads or updates would be possible. Lawmakers who pushed for the bill to pass say the app must be sold from its Chinese parent company ByteDance to protect American users' data.
Through this process, have you learned anything about Americans' data on TikTok that does really concern you? Anything concrete?
Yes. Rivers of data are being collected and shared in ways that are not well aligned with American security interests.
FBI Director Christopher Wray telling Lester Holt that TikTok's parent company is beholden to the Chinese government.
We're talking about the ability to control or collect data on millions and millions of users and to use it for all sorts of influence operations like driving their AI efforts.
I flew all night.
So you came on a red eye?
Yes.
Other TikTok creators traveling to the Capitol from far and wide to demonstrate against the ban.
TikTok has given me every bit of voice that I have. So as I mentioned there, TikTok saying that they will take this to court and that they will argue that this would impede users' free speech. Now, whichever side were to lose that battle would likely appeal to the Supreme Court, potentially setting up a years-long showdown.
Let's head to Detroit, where tonight some of the most promising college football stars are looking to go pro in this year's NFL draft.
Yeah, for many fan bases, tonight will be the first look at what's to come in the new season and which new faces will be wearing their team's colors for the first time. NBC News correspondent Kaylee Hartung is in Detroit this morning, where she'll have a front row seat for the draft. Kaylee, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. Motor City, I have to tell you, it's revved up here. The city's been planning for this for about 2 years, and the finishing touches are being put on this pretty incredible draft theater right now. Fans are lining up to get a look at it. I mean, it's crazy. It's early in the morning, and everybody is excited to see what has built up here. It's become one of the most unique fan experiences that they're in sports. But for the young men who are going to walk across the stage behind me tonight, this night is a lifetime in the making.
2023 NFL Draft.
It's one of the most exclusive clubs in the sports world.
First pick of the draft, the Indianapolis Colts select Peyton Manning,
Cam Newton, Joe Burrow.
And in a matter of hours, Caleb Williams is widely expected to hear his name called as the #1 overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft.
At what point did you believe that being the #1 pick was actually possible?
When I was 12. It's actually becoming a reality. Being here, being at the draft, possibly being #1 pick. Crazy.
Does it feel real? Everybody?
Feels real. Feels real.
Feels real?
Feels like I was supposed to be here.
So this is how USC's former Heisman-winning quarterback is preparing for the biggest night of his life.
Wow. Does he lose at anything? No.
Surrounded by his closest group of friends and confidants.
How do you imagine emotion hitting you on Thursday night?
So I'm be excited, but all the emotions on the field that you see, I probably won't have those.
Do you think you are going to be able to sleep well the night before the draft?
I'm asleep like a baby.
Over the next 3 days, 257 young men will be called to begin their NFL journey. But only Williams and 12 other prospects will have the opportunity to walk on stage in Detroit and hug the commissioner if they dare.
What's the move on stage with the commissioner?
I'm gonna give him a big hug.
Beyond the first overall pick, all but certainly sending Williams to Chicago, experts agree we're in for a wild ride.
There definitely is a lot of uncertainty after the #1 pick.
As the next generation of NFL stars await their crowning moment, the city of Detroit is suiting up too. Construction has been underway for nearly a month, building a footprint that covers 2 million square feet of downtown, in anticipation of more than 300,000 fans flooding in to celebrate.
And I'm excited for the city of Detroit to show the world that we are prepared to have a safe and welcoming event.
It's a big moment. It's a long time coming for an even longer time to come. So I'm ready. I'm ready for the moment.
Now, key to the moment for all 13 of the guys who've made the trip to Detroit, of course, is the fashion of it all. I asked Caleb, who's known to be something of a trendsetter himself, if he could give me a peek at the suit. He said absolutely not. It's staying locked up until he suits up for the red carpet tonight. Though he did say, guys, it's going to be navy blue with some silver accents, and he will have his fingernails painted to match, as he's been known to do. Wow. But, guys, the uncertainty and the drama that could unfold tonight, it's going to be a lot of fun. And, Joe, your Vikings, man. A trade, perhaps?
I think
Could they move up to get a quarterback?
We were talking about that earlier. When you are a lifelong Vikings fan, you need all the help that you can get to finally someday maybe win a Super Bowl. Someday. We can only hope.
I'm excited for the Passion Vikings.
There you go.
I
See,
love
there's something
seeing,
for everyone.
There's something for everyone. Can't wait to see.
Thank you, Kaylee. Appreciate it. Have fun tonight.
Coming up, we've got your front row tickets to the opera this morning.
Yeah, after the break, the scenic and trilingual reimagining of the birth of Christ taking place at the Metropolitan Opera right here in New York, and it's taking everyone by storm. We're going to chat with a star and the director of El Nino in our series Curtain Call. That is next.
Welcome back. Unsurprisingly, Taylor Swift is breaking records. Her latest release, The Tortured Poets Department, is the first album in Spotify history to surpass 1 billion streams in a single week. Even better, it actually managed it in less than that, only 5 days. The last album to receive the most streams in 1 week was Swift's last album, 2022's Midnights. Just on the day that The Tortured Poets Department dropped, it was streamed more than 300 million times. That's the first album to manage that on Spotify. My favorites change every day, Joe. I'm just still soaking in all 31 of these tracks.
How many millions of those were you?
Yeah, exactly.
I always like
Can't
to ask
confirm,
that.
but assume it's a few.
All right, thanks, Savannah. Let's end this hour with the Curtain Call, your front row ticket to Broadway and well beyond. This morning, we are going to the opera for the show El Nino, which is making its Metropolitan Opera debut almost 24 years after its first performance. The show, which is performed in not 1, not 2, but 3 languages, reimagines the birth of Christ in a lush jungle instead of a Middle Eastern desert. And Liliana Blaine Cruz is the show's director, making her Met debut, and Janae Bridges plays Mary. It is good to have both of you with us. Congratulations. People are loving the show. The reviews are absolutely incredible. I have not had a chance to see it yet, but I will see it, and I'm looking forward to it. But Liliana, I mean, The Nativity is a story that has obviously been told many times in many, many different ways. But what makes this show different and so special?
Sure. Well, thanks for having us. I'm excited. One, I think, one of the ways I've been thinking about the show is that it's a story about migration. It's a story about women traveling to find safety for the future. And so this production, in some ways, embodies a kind of lush universe of people looking for safety. And I think it's been wonderful working with folks like Julia and Janae and Devon, who kind of bring a new take into that universe.
So even though it's an old story, it feels present and modern in so many ways, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So Janae, we're talking about 3 languages here,
Yes.
right? We got what? English, Spanish, and Latin?
Yes, that's correct.
How do you handle that, keeping it all together while you're up there singing in such a beautiful way?
I'm still trying to figure out how I handle that. But no, I mean, it's such a beautiful score, and it's a beautiful world that Liliana has created. And as an opera singer, we sing in many different languages. I think I've sung in 10 or 11 languages. So it's just kind of a natural thing at this point for me. And it's just one of the many beautiful aspects of what we do.
You say that with so much simplicity, but you have to understand, people right now are listening to that and their mind is blown. Give us just the littlest hint as to how you approach so many different languages and having to sing them and emote and,
Ooh, yeah, it's a lot that we do as opera singers, but, I went to conservatory, and one of the first things that you do is you take diction courses and classes. So delve right in, and I travel all around the world singing opera. So once I go to Italy or Germany or France, I'm enveloped into these beautiful worlds of languages, and it kind of just sticks after a while. And I will also say that I personally have a natural ear for languages, so I'm lucky in that department.
That is awesome. So Liliana, I understand you first fell in love with opera at the Met when you were younger.
That's correct.
Is that right? Talk about that experience and what it means now to be making your debut at the Met.
It's amazing. So it was me and my parents. We're running through the rain. We're late, and we're getting in just at the last moment. The lights are going down and the infamous chandeliers are going up, and I'm like, what is this universe that I'm entering into? And then we're sitting in, my dad had gotten us good tickets, and all of a sudden this red curtain goes up, and I'm like 9 years old, and I'm like, what is this? And it's this, probably Zeffirelli set and massive. And I think to be at this moment now to represent, Haiti and Latin American countries and to put that on that massive stage and that massive scale has been like a dream come true. It's kind of surreal. I feel really moved to be able to have myself now and my childlike self kind of existing simultaneously.
I love to hear that. You mentioned how big this stage is now because you've done this production on smaller stages before. Are there challenges that come with suddenly being like, all right, here you go. You got the Met Opera stage.
Yeah. No, the Met Opera stage is amazing. Julia Bullock actually developed Nativity Reconsidered with you and Devon, which has been amazing. And I think that's been a way of accessing, giving access to the piece. I think working on the Met stage, and again, amazing designers who have been finding way to access the scale. The ceiling is it's 65 foot wide and massive. It's literally you get to enter inside a universe. And I think that's what's so special about the opera is being able to experience live art on that scale has been a dream.
Janae, there are so many people who haven't experienced the opera, whether it's access, it's maybe not close to them, or they're maybe intimidated by it. They think, I don't know if I'll get it or understand it. What do you say to people? Because I know I fell in love with the opera moving here to New York, and it's one of those things where I'm like, am I going to enjoy this?
Right.
What do you say to people who haven't experienced it?
Well, I love this. What I say is opera is for everyone. Opera is for all. It is such a beautiful art form, and I'm so grateful to be in the midst of an era where it is so inclusive, and Liliana Blanc-Cruz, having black and brown people on stage is something relatively new. So I think that, with this new kind of world that we've created and that we're entering, everyone is welcome. They've always been welcome, but now more than ever, we want everyone to be in the house, and I'm just grateful to be a part of this time, in history where opera is, I think, such a booming art form, and it's only going to go up from here.
Especially with singers like Janae.
Exactly, exactly.
9-minute monologue,
Oh,
La
my goodness.
Anunciación, and it's amazing. It's amazing.
It's fun. It's a fun time.
Janae, Liliana, so thrilled to have you. Congratulations on all the success of the show so far. And remember, you still have 6 more chances to see El Nino at the Metropolitan Opera before it closes next month. That is going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
Don't go anywhere. The news continues right now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.